This episode is brought to you by the Boneyard Huskies Club. The Boneyard Huskies Club empowers UConn student athletes while providing UConn fans with access to exclusive community, utility, and rewards. Purchase of collectibles featuring your favorite student athletes directly supports the athletes since they receive a majority of the revenue. For more information, go to boneyardhuskiesclub.com. That's Huskies with a YZ at the end. Okay, back on the podcast. Got a national champion joining us today. So, Coach, welcome back to the podcast. Happy to have you back on.
Yeah, Jared, I was not a national champion the last time I was on here. So
Yeah, look at that. What a difference a few weeks or a few months makes.
yeah.
When you were on last time, it was right around first night. We were talking. And my takeaway from that conversation was that you thought this team had the potential to be really good, and that you really had liked the pieces. As you went through the preseason, the season starts. When did it hit you with what you were really working with there, and that this team had the chance to be something special?
Yeah, I think it really was a couple things, Jared, that kind of landed. Obviously the fear of replacing RJ at point guard, a first team all conference player that was super productive. Did we have enough at point? And obviously, Tristan showed us, pretty early on that we were going to be good there. And then as the season went on, just continued to get better and better. A couple triple doubles. Obviously, his performance late, sensational. So seeing that we weren't going to, miss a beat at point, but then also even add, more size at the position. And then I would say that the young guys, Caravan and Klingon, just seeing that those guys were going to have the impact that they were going to have as freshmen, which not many other teams in the country that were successful had freshmen playing as prominent roles as we did. We knew what we had with the big three, and we knew we had some veteran depth.
So when you look at that first chunk of the season, when you guys are on that stretch, winning out in Portland, undefeated to start conference play, what's the feeling like at that point? And then how quickly did it change come January once things start to get a little tougher?
Yeah, I think we knew we had a team that could potentially have a special year, having a special season. You have to be able to go on winning streaks. You have to have the type of team that's really good across the board, offensively, defensively, rebound the ball, effort, chemistry. I think you see all those things in place in November and December. And I think that you understand that you're not going to have just a clean sheet. So I think we were kind of preparing for the storms to come, or a storm, but it felt like more like two storms on top of each other. In January, part was, losing games that were very, very tough on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the St. John's game, which is still one that, the Seton Hall one, obviously, we had half our coaching staff there, and we lost in very unlucky fashion. But the St. John's game was a surprising one. And when you go back and look back, it was part scheduling. It was part, I think a group of players all playing bad at the same time. And then obviously, the coaching wasn't where it needed to be. So there was a lot going on.
I'm curious from a leadership perspective, how do you keep morale strong during a time like that? Because I feel like it has to be pretty easy, at some point to just kind of throw in the towel there. You already had gone on a good stretch. Now things are getting tough. How do you keep everyone afloat during that time?
I think you just continue to harp on and kind of, verbalize consistently with your team, like the true measure of who you are as a man, as a competitor, as a high level player, is how you're going to respond when things are going badly, when your team is struggling, when you're not playing well. That's the true measure of who you're going to be and what you're going to accomplish. in your life and your career as a man, as a coach, as an athlete. And then just the modeled behavior, as bad as we all felt as coaches and as miserable as we were waking up in the morning and driving in to the facility, the preparation was the same. We didn't act defeated. And then when you also have incredibly strong leadership from Andre Jackson, and then when you have some great personalities on the team, like a Dama and an Andre and a Hawk and a Caravan and a Klingon and a Joey California and a Hassan Diarra. These are guys with a lot of life, and Tristan.
I know you know this now, having been at UConn for a few years, but no moral victories at UConn. But I felt like things turned around in that second half of the Xavier game when you guys made that comeback, although coming up a little bit short there, making a run and showing glimpses of what that team had looked like in November and December. From your perspective, did that feel like a moment where you kind of felt the tide turn a little bit and think, hey, we could get back on track here?
No. No,
That's just the optimistic fan perspective, right?
Yeah, you know what I think though that was a time where it was a tipping point in a sense of really coming up with a strategy for how we needed to play things. I think from an offensive standpoint, I think we found some things in that game, by the way that game played out, that had a big impact on how we move forward. Especially with Andre.
Yeah.
And then it was just I think it was a lesson for the group where we spotted them like 11 points. We spotted them by the way we started the game and just how bad our approach was. I think it was just I think the group thought because we had won, I think going into that game, 20 straight in Gamble in front of live crowds. Forget the COVID year when there was no one there. But I think in front of live crowds, we had won a big number in a row. And I think the group thought that Gamble would just win the game for them. And that was a hard lesson.
Yeah. You talk about Andre there and discovering some new things coming out of that game. And it kind of goes to, what I was talking with you a little bit about earlier, but how do you help keep Andre composed during that tough stretch? When he's getting heckled by opposing benches, they're trying to, put him in positions where he won't be as successful. So how do you help work from a player perspective in keeping him in a spot where, hey, we're going to need you down the stretch, and obviously was able to perform at a high level, from that point on?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was some low level stuff from some opposing benches. I hope they were GAs and players that were yelling some of the stuff they were yelling. But I get if you're yelling under screens,
Yeah.
it's fine. But some of the other stuff from coaches, that it's I forget it. For him, he's incredibly mentally strong. He's a mentally tough kid. He's got incredible pedigree, and he's got real strength to him. I think it was just understanding how he needed to go about playing, and where he could be effective and where he could potentially be a double figure scorer. And then it was also too, I think, getting across to Andre, like, don't let what's happening there. One of the best things that Andre does is defensive rebound and push the ball and create early offense. And he could still do those things even if he was guarded in a certain way in the half court.
Mm-hmm. As you finish up, February, March, team looks like things are getting back on track. I know you've talked about having a little bit of a different mindset going into the tournament this year. How did you go about putting some of those, past, negative experiences, behind you and kind of come into this tournament with a new outlook on things?
Yeah, I mean, I just, we don't feel like, even though it's UConn, we tried to take away our sense of entitlement. I don't know if that's a bad word to use or sore subject, but you don't, as a coach or a player or as a program, I think we went into the last postseason with a little bit of entitlement. Like when we went to Buffalo, really two things. Number one, two things. So the Buffalo going into the tournament the year before, the whole mentality, I think, of the program and the department was like, let's not bring out the band. Let's not make a big deal about the selection show. Let's not have, cheer or dance at the hotel or at open practice or do things to create energy and excitement until the second weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we haven't been to the second weekend in a while, and things in the program, like we're rebuilding from nothing.
Yeah.
So, so we changed that completely this past year. We create a lot of excitement for the selection show. We were, the athletic department, marketing, everything was on point in Albany to create the excitement, to create the enthusiasm. We didn't feel like we were, yeah, we'll see you in Vegas. No, we did a great job with it. And I think it had a positive effect on everyone's mood and energy. And then for me, the year before, I carried the Villanova loss from the Big East tournament, the disappointment of not achieving one of our goals into the biggest tournament of the year. So there was a little bit of a dark cloud that I kind of, into Monday and Tuesday of the NCAA tournament week, I was still ripping guys from the Villanova game for missing layups and losing a one possession game there. And the Marquette game, we left it in New York. We stayed over. Usually I would just take my team right out of there. We stayed over at night. We watched the film and the mistakes that Saturday, and we left it at the hotel. And then Sunday, we just got excited about the tournament, and we knew that Marquette was one of the best teams in the country. We knew that Tristan and Jordan went 4 for 21. We knew that Andre Jackson only played 14 minutes or so, was in foul trouble, or maybe a little bit more than that. So we knew that our two leading perimeter scorers and our invaluable player both basically didn't play, and we still should have we still had chances to beat them with open threes down the stretch of the game.
I'm curious because I know Coach Calhoun in the past, when he was leading the program, talked about how in some ways he liked getting shipped out west for the NCAA tournament, kind of get away from, being close by, kind of put things away. How do you feel about getting shipped out west when you saw that was going to be your path? And was it something guys were able to embrace?
I mean, I personally felt like we should, again, now here we go. I thought we should have been a 3 seed in my mind. Because of the non-conference performance. To me, you should get rewarded for playing big non-conference games and beating other top level teams. Now we got nicked, which was bad luck with the fact that Castleton from Florida gets hurt, where we go on the road and beat them. If he plays and is healthy, they're a bubble team probably until the last day of the year. And now we probably, that changes that when Oklahoma State, if Avery Anderson doesn't get hurt, they're probably a tournament team. Providence is not a quad one. I don't even think the neutral ended up being a quad one. So the Villanova game isn't quad. There were some things that hurt us from being a 3 seed, although I felt like we probably deserved it. I didn't really. Would I've preferred playing in the Garden? Probably, but I didn't really care that much. I was more looking at the teams we were going to play. Everyone's losing their mind when we drew Iona.
Yeah, a lot of bedwetting going on there.
Yeah, it was like like you're playing the boogeyman and Iona, and UConn's in trouble, and obviously you see the VCU and the St. Mary's, and you just kind of. You're in Albany and you're feeling great about being Albany for that first game. And we felt great about the first matchup because they played fast and we knew that there'd be a lot of possessions in the game.
I'm going to take a quick break from the interview to tell you about my friends at Martin Rosol's Meats. This 4th-generation Connecticut family business produces kielbasa, hot dogs, sausages, and deli meats using Martin Rosol's very own original recipes. Their products can be found in grocery stores, delis, restaurants, and hot dog stands throughout the state. And if you're looking for your fill right away, check out their retail store in New Britain. For more information, visit martinroselsinc.com and go support a UConn fan-owned business. And now, back to the interview. Was there a moment during the tournament where you kind of hit you that, hey, we're in a good position here to win this whole thing?
I would say probably the Arkansas game for me. Just with the fact that they had looked so impressive against Kansas. They're a top 10 team in the preseason. They had two lottery picks and then two guys that were mocking at the end of first, early second. They also fortified their front court by, having obviously the ability through NIL to go out and get the best transfers. So, and Muss has had tremendous success in the NCAA tournament. So just the way we were able to separate and the level that we played at both ends, this dominant fashion, they go on a 10-0 run just to cut it to 19. So,
Yeah.
when that's going on in a Sweet 16 game versus a team with that type of ability, and then just feeling like you matched up, like not being afraid one bit of playing Gonzaga out in Vegas because you match up so well with them. Their best
Yeah.
player had to deal with Adama and Donovan.
I'm curious because from fan perspective, you're sitting at home or you're at the game, you're watching it, and the next thing you know, it's gone from 3 or 4 and it's 14-15. As you're on the sideline, is that something you're picking up on? Like, wow, like we just went on this massive run and kind of put this team away.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that we've really done the whole year. That's the way we played. We were very intentional about how we built the roster and how we played, and it's kind of the buildup of the program in terms of the quality and where we're at. But it's really the way we played, with the exception of for about like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, really the game at Creighton and Marquette, we didn't have those big runs. But also too, those two teams and Xavier with Fremantle healthy, we were all like top 10 type of teams in the country last year. So, yeah, I mean, minus the 2.5 weeks where it went bad for us, we were a team that went on big runs, and when we beat people, we beat the hell out of them.
Yeah. You mentioned the Arkansas game as kind of that turning point for you. I feel like not many people say no to Bill Murray when it comes to things. How much restraint did it take you to not rip off the shirt when he's telling you to do it?
Well, it's not the summer, and I'm very self-conscious and insecure, like most coaches that are successful. I'm insecure. And yeah, I mean, I'm not. I've got to.
You're not
I got
Hollywood.
to manscape, man, before I'm ready for that. And that's in like February to March. There's no way I would do that.
So, so you win the whole thing. It's been a couple weeks now. How much have you been able to soak this in versus kind of start to flip the page, think to next year? I know you've got to have those conversations with everyone, at the end of the season, but how's that been for you in terms of kind of getting to enjoy it all versus get back to work?
Yeah, it brought me back to, on a much larger scale, but to what it was like at Rhodey my last couple of years there, when it was, Atlantic 10 postseason, first one since Lamar, and then the first regular season championship, and nets cutting and confetti, and just the love that you have for everyone, that like that when you win things and you're in the NCAA tournament and you're advancing, and just that love that you have for each other, that you feel. That's probably the immediate, like, couple of days, like from Monday night when it ends all the way through that week. You're kind of numb because you're just going from appearance to appearance to parades, and
Yeah.
it's awesome, but you really don't. You have no time to reflect. And then it turns to immediately, the agents and players that are making professional decisions, and players that are likely to go in the portal,
Yeah.
either because they haven't played or because you know that they're going to be looking for something more that you can't provide. So you feel that coming very quickly. Probably at the end of that week, your mind turned to, okay, like, you're even having those meetings at the end of the year, like,
Yeah.
all right, who do we expect to be back? What are we looking at portal wise? Because we did plan ahead on losing people by bringing in One of the best classes in program history.
What are those conversations like when you're advising a player, on what's next for them, and as they're trying to figure out from their perspective what might be the best decision for them?
Just total honesty. I think these guys are used to it from me. So I think they'll read. I'm a bad poker player. So they would read in my body language and in tone of voice or what have you. Me just not being upfront. So for me, it's easy. I never I never go into a meeting or a conversation with a coach on how they should be looking at a potential head job, whether it's Kamani or Luke. I mean, they've had opportunities this offseason. Both have had, mid majors that have come for them that they've passed on, where it wasn't big enough for them or it wasn't right. Same thing with players. It's like, you know, when Jordan Hawkins comes into the office and, there's not much of a conversation there because the guy can go lottery. He's won a national championship. It's time to go. Adama accomplished everything he came here to accomplish, and in a similar way to Tyrese, I think he's going to find his way into the second round once people really get a chance to see him. Obviously, guys like Andre and Tristan have maybe a tougher decision to make, and it may play out a little bit longer. And then there are guys that go into the portal like Naheem. He did a great job for us. Helped off the bench. He played a big role for us as a two-way player, and there's things in his career that he wants to accomplish in terms of his productivity more. I respect it, and we wish him the best of luck unless he's playing us.
What's it like going this time of year and having to go through the portal and as you're looking for pieces? Because I think everyone was kind of surprised last year with Joey and how he kind of came out of nowhere and is a key player on a championship team. So how does it work from your perspective in terms of what you're looking for in the portal and how that matches up with how it plays out?
Yeah, I mean, we're very intentional. We know that our freshman class is going to provide for us a huge lift and an infusion of talent. I mean, these guys are, the studs that we've got coming in here. They're going to provide the same type of impact that all of our great young players have provided for us. The Book Knights, the Jordan Hawkins, the Andre Jacksons, the Donovan Klingons, the Alex Caravans. I mean, we play our young players, and partially because we start practice on like June 1st. Unlike a lot of college programs, like we're getting after it while a lot of people are having assistants run workouts and do form shooting. We're getting ready for the season, which gets our freshmen more ready than most places. So we won't be, I don't think, knock on wood, unless there's a major migration here, then we won't. We're going to be very intentional and very strategic. I think a lot of other programs are dropping bombs in the portal right now, big bombs, and kind of destroying things and start. We're looking to snipe. We're looking to be more of a Navy SEAL right now and snipe and keep the program where it's at, because we know we've got maybe a player in Donovan who is going to be one of the best players in the country, and then Alex Caravan, who never got the credit he deserved for the year he had. He really was the best rookie in our league this year. He had certainly no one did what he did. There wasn't a freshman in the country that could start on a team that won a national championship. And I don't know if he led us in minutes or if it was Tristan, but big jumps by both men next year.
Yeah, no, excited to see it. And I won't just say it because Alex comes on the podcast and co-hosts with me from time to time. So I got a few just kind of fun ones here as we start to wrap things up here. What's been your favorite opportunity post the championship outside of this appearance that you've gotten to do?
Outside of this one, parade, just to be around the just to see that, man, that was crazy. In the streets of Hartford, the type of love, not many people ever get to experience something like that, and to be with the fans, to be with the people.
Yeah. We hit a bit of the offseason. I know you said June 1st be hitting things hard, but what's the offseason like for you? You catching up on TV you missed during the season? What do you do?
Yeah, well, a recruit, I got a suggestion from a recruit that the kid that we're pursuing to watch a show because I'm just looking for something like for maybe that 45 minutes at night that you have time to
Yeah.
wreck your brain a little bit. But I think for us, it's like we're looking at we're going to probably be going really hard until like May 12th, May 12th. I think we get like a little bit of like a 10-day break. The players leave, recruiting starts to slow down a lot, and then we get a chance to recharge our batteries. But for me, mostly, I'm an avid reader, so I don't get to read as much as I'd like during the season, so
All
I'm
right.
getting to like kind of catch up on some reading right now.
All right, there we go. I like it. I know one of the storylines that kind of came out of the tournament was you got advice from a number of coaches, whether it was Jay Wright, Coach K, Gino Calhoun. What was the best piece of advice you got during that run?
Those guys are all great, Coach Calhoun and Gino. I would say, the person that probably has the most impact besides family, besides my wife Andrea, and then my boys, Andrew, who's talking me off the ledge, and then Danny, who calls me to keep me stable too. I would say Seth Greenberg. Seth is like one of the smartest basketball people, and I call him a lot, talk to him a lot because he's really dialed into today's game. He should be, the commissioner of college basketball.
I like it. Well, Coach, I really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming on. Enjoy the books. Enjoy some painting, maybe. As a struggling artist myself, I can barely do stick figures. I can appreciate what you've been able to do there. So,
Tom Moore gets the next one.
all right. What's the next one of? Do we get a preview?
Tom likes, Tom likes to go to the Cape at different times. So I think
Okay.
it's got to be something, relative to the Cape.
All right. Well, I think for the guys leaving Jordan, Adama, maybe a self portrait of yourself. Maybe a
Yeah,
going away gift.
insulting. I don't want to insulting. Yeah.
Well, Coach, as always, appreciate the time and thanks so much.
All right, Jared, man. See you, brother.